Hi, I'm Rachel Chanoff, and I'm thrilled and delighted to welcome you to the New York Jewish Film Festival, which is a collaboration between the Jewish Museum and Film at Lincoln Center. And we are so happy to bring you a really eclectic array of documentary and narrative and short films and experimental films that really plumb the depth of the Jewish experience from around the world. We want to thank all of our funders and supporters and members and all of you for taking, the ride on our new world of festivals on Zoom. And we also want to thank the Consulate General of Israel in New York. It has been just a long time crucial partner for our festival. We want to thank the distributor, U.S. distributor of Asia, which is Menemsha Films. And we want to mention that this beautiful film we're about to discuss, Asia, is Israel's official entry into the Academy Awards for Best International Feature. Asia won, I think, every prize there was to win at the Ophir Prizes. Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, I think also Best Cinematographer, maybe Best Score, I'm not even sure. Yeah, so 9 Ophir Awards. And we are just honored and thrilled to have the filmmaker here with us today. So I know you'll all join me in welcoming Ruthy Pribar, who is the writer-director of this film. So welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Q&A. We're gonna, I have a few questions for you, and then we'll take questions from the audience. But I just wanna say that in all the years we've been doing the Jewish Film Festival, but just films in general, I don't think I've ever seen a first feature by a writer-director that was so powerful and had so much humanity and nuance that it just is such a compelling experience to see this. So I was wondering if you could talk about kind of the genesis of this story for you.
Mm-hmm. It started out, I would say, I started writing the film 7 years ago. But it comes from a very personal experiences, and it's something that that happened to me 14 years ago, which is the death of my older sister. And it's something that shaped me for my entire life and definitely shaped the way I see films also, and the way I write and the way I create. And I mean, it really touched everything in my life. It changed me completely. So I wrote so many things about it, and I made a few short films in these subject matters. And I dealt a lot with what it meant to me and what happened to me. And I think as I grew up and I started looking at what my mother was going through, which was something completely different. And I mean, my sister was a few months in the hospital, and we sat by her side, both of us, and my father and another sister my other sister. But um, for me, I was just completely detached from the situation. I was 24 at the time; she was 32, and I could not comprehend what was going on. I was there, but I wasn't there, and I wasn't able to be there for her. I wasn't able to be there emotionally. Um, and But my mother, who sat by me with her, she was completely different. Her approach was she was there entirely, like 100%, and she was so full of care, of love, of empathy towards my sister, and was able to really feel everything that was going on, and to feel the pain as well. And she was able to let go of my sister when the time came, which is something that I was not able to do. So when I came to writing the film, I wanted the character of Asya to hold these two personas in a way, to be how I was in the beginning, how detached I was, how I was unable to think of the situation I was in, of the upcoming death of my sister, and I wanted her to reach a point where she's completely there for her daughter, that she's able to even help her die. So this is really, in a nutshell, how the story came to my mind. And it's, as you can understand, it's a very, very personal film in some ways, but in other ways, it has nothing really biographical that happened to me. But it is coming from something that is me. It has my experiences inside.
How does your mother feel about the film?
That's a tough question. She loves it. She's very, very proud. Um, I knew I wanted to show her the film before it came out, so she was one of the first viewers to watch it. Because I didn't want her to see it in a movie theater with other people, which eventually never happened. So, um, yeah, but she, I mean, both my parents were they. It was a very emotional experience for them to watch the film, and they've watched it quite a few times since the first time, and every time they realize something else about the film, which is
And
for me,
did
it's
they
very
know?
interesting.
Yeah. Did they know that you were making a film? Like, did they know the depth of what you were making while you were making it, or did you have to say, "Here it's done, and this is the power. This is what it's about"?
They're very involved in my life and in my art. So they didn't know I was writing this film. They didn't know I was working on it. I think they didn't realize how deep it would touch them. Um, and that is something that I couldn't know either. So it's a, I think it's a good surprise though.
And have you written a lot of different kinds of? It's so rare to see a first film where the script, the writing, the quality of the writing is so well crafted. You really feel like you're in the hands of master craftsmen. Aside from just the beauty of the film, you feel so well taken care of by the writer, taking you through this incredibly um, delicate, film. Have you always considered yourself a writer? Have you written a lot of other things?
No, actually, it took me quite a while to understand I could write. And it's funny because it's the thing I feared the most. When I came to film school, it was after I studied film in high school, and I've done like, I don't know, like amateur films. But the writing part was always very tricky for me because I could write short stories and it would be fairly easy because I could just have this idea um, and just write a few pages about it. That was not never an issue. But writing a film, it seemed like an impossible task because you have. Uh, I'm such a perfectionist that I wanted it to be perfect the first time. I think what I learned over time and that writing is rewriting, and the reason why scripts are wonderful is because they have been worked on for so long. So this is why you watch a film and it's 90 minutes and it's incredible because there are so many layers inside it because someone didn't write it in 90 minutes. He wrote it during, I don't know, 7 years or less, but so
Sometimes more. So,
or more, yeah. Um, but I really do think that the quality of writing has to do with knowing that the first thing you write is never gonna be good, and you have to keep on going and rewriting um, and finding the voice of what you want to tell and the voice of the characters that you want to talk about. And
so,
it takes time and effort. It's just
and was your first draft closer to the actual experience, or was it always this set of characters with the emotional content being the same?
um, no, it was all from the very beginning. I knew where the film was going to end. I knew I wanted There are no spoilers. You're right, everyone. I guess you watched.
Everybody's seen it.
So yeah, I mean, what started me off is a mother that is so dedicated and so devoted to her daughter that she's able to help her die and do this act of love for her. This was the opening, um, for me. It's the ending scene, but it's this is how I wanted to open the film.
Can you talk about
Yeah, yeah,
the casting of it? Because it feels like the cast is so aligned with the material that it feels like, how could you ever have considered anybody else for these roles? But I'm sure, of course, that you did, or maybe not. So can you talk about the casting process?
yeah. Well, um, we actually didn't know. It wasn't like I wrote the parts for specific actresses. We did have a lot of auditioning, and we went through a lot of actresses. And I mean, right away when I saw Alena Yiv, who played Ase and Vika, I knew they were wonderful, but I had no idea how similar they would look. And I really saw a lot of actresses. But when I saw these two together, the first time we put them in a room, it was so evident that they were. It was just like it was meant to be. So I mean, and what I do when I meet actresses or actors in general, it's I talk with them about their lives, about where they come from, and I try um, to put what they bring into the film. Um, so uh, so that's what we did. I mean, I can give an example. Um, let's say the easiest example would be about Gabi, about the character of Gabi,
Uh-huh.
who is played by Tamir Mula, and
Uh-huh.
he just came into the audition room, and he had this huge tattoo on his arm, and I uh, uh, the casting director looked at him and she asked him, "What's that tattoo that you have?" And he said, "Oh, it's a lotus flower. I love flowers." And I mean, I love that sentence so much that I put it inside the script because I felt it described his character in a way that I couldn't, and it was very it, it was just right for him for his role. So it was and that's what I did with all of them, with all of the actors in the film, and we had them very, very involved in the scenes.
The language is so beautiful, so tight, and it's so specific.
Hmm.
But just what you're saying about what the actors were bringing to it language wise, was there
Right.
any improvisational nature to it?
No, we didn't improvise at all during filming. Uh, I'm I mean, I wish I could, but I mean, I'm such a control freak when I direct that I have to know everything, and especially in this film, a lot of the text is in Russian, which I'm not fluent in, or I don't really know Russian. When I started out writing the script, I knew it was going to be in Russian, so I went on and learned the language. So I knew a bit. I mean, I don't know Russian at all. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not a good language student, but I did know enough to understand the words, to understand how the sentence is built, and to see that we're on the same page with like that everything is going according to plan. Um, so we didn't improvise anything, but what we did do is when we translated the script into it was written in Hebrew, everything was written in Hebrew, but when we translated to Russian, we did it with Alena Yiv, with the actress that plays Ася. So the language is her own. She feels very comfortable in it, and because Russian is such a a difficult language and it has so many different words for different things, we picked out specifically what was right for the each sentence. So we really had to uh, work on every part of the dialogue and understand that this is what we want to say. So a lot of things changed in that process, which made it easy for her to be able to say those sentences because she knew them so well, because she connected to them. And the same goes to all the actors, not only through translation but through rehearsals, knowing that they're going to say that, and if something didn't wasn't right for them, they could say, okay, I don't know why I'm saying this sentence. Let's talk about it. Maybe you can change it. And we did a lot of changes during rehearsals.
So, and how much rehearsal did you have? How long was the shoot?
The shoot was 20 days,
Wow.
which is not a lot. Yeah, it's like a low budget film. And we actually had a lot of time to rehearse because what happened, and this is a funny story. I wrote the film, and it's a film that deals a lot with motherhood. But I wasn't a mother when I wrote it. And I came out of film school and I had this notion that, okay, I'm going to be a director. I want to be a film director. And first, I'm going to direct a film, and then I'm going to have children. And it's not going to be this is what I want to do. But plans set aside, I wrote the script. I was ready to shoot. We were in pre-production. We already had the budget, and then I found out I was pregnant, and um, I really wanted to shoot the film pregnant, and I had this. Okay, I can do it. Okay, I can do it. I'm gonna do it when I'm pregnant. And I went to my producers and I told them, okay, listen, I'm pregnant, and congratulations. We're gonna need to check that with our insurance company. And they went on to check it with our insurance company, and they said, no, we're not insuring pregnant director. We're not insuring the production. And they went on to quite a few insurance companies, and no one would insure the production. So we had to postpone uh, shooting. And the first time I met Alona and Shira together was with my belly like this, 9 months pregnant, sitting in front of them and say, okay, wow, I've got my two lead actresses. And that was wonderful because a week later I was giving birth. And so what happened is, because we postponed shooting for a year and casting was already closed, we had a lot of time to get to know each other and to talk, and not only rehearse, but to really become friends. So when we went on to shoot, we just knew each other so well that it made the whole experience very
Wow.
warm and family-like.
And did you change? I mean, because it's so much about motherhood, obviously, the script. Did
Yeah.
all being a mother bring, did it, did you rethink anything in the script, or did it bring any other things to your writing, or did it change your perception of what you were writing once you had those actual, like, oh, wow, I get it in a whole different way feeling?
Yeah, completely. I mean, it changed everything. I mean, being a mother changed me completely, so it changed the film as well. Um, and I brought a lot of my new experiences into this film. And I I mean, becoming a mother was uh, and postponing the film was an understanding that I'm gonna have to sacrifice so much from very early on for this child that I'm carrying. And it just during the film, I would just during the shooting, I would be in the you know in the really long days of production, and knowing that my 10-month-old baby is missing me. And it was really difficult, but it was also um, something that brought, I think, a lot of truth into the film. And just I had this perspective that I lacked before, and I'm sure that it gave the film what it needed.
So, yeah. It's so interesting that the creative team is almost all women, if not all women.
Right.
And
Almost.
was that a really active choice of yours? Or are these people you always worked with in film school, or how did you come to this bunch of collaborators? And was
Well,
it like, I'm going to use only women on this shoot?
um, I knew that I wanted to work with mostly women because I'm very aware of the inequality in the film industry, And I know there are so many talented, amazing, incredible women that can do the job uh, wonderful, just as well as men could, and they are not giving a chance. And I knew that when I would be in the position where I can make the choices, I'm going to make the choices to bring women. And I brought really, I mean, I felt so comfortable to work with women, um, not only because they're women, because they're great at what they do. So it was an easy choice to make, but it is a choice. And I think that not only that we are lacking women in the film industry, we are lacking films that are shown from a female perspective. There are more and more that are coming out, but we're still so uh, dominated by a male point of view that just I'm gonna give you like a really small example. There's a scene in the film where Asa is going to drink and just drinking in a bar. And this is towards like the second half of the film where her daughter is already very ill and she's staying out, and her daughter is with Gabby at home. And this is a scene that for me was very normal, and I mean I didn't even think about it like in terms of a feminist scene. And then I would get these remarks from a lot of male viewers that this is a terrible scene, and how is this woman, this mother going out? They could not believe a mother would go out to drink when her daughter was ill at home. And I was thinking to myself, this is such a strange thing to ask about, because if you see a man going to drink at a bar uh, after he had a very long day at work and knowing that his child is ill, but he needs to some time for himself, and you would see that at so many films, a man going out to drink. But when you see a woman doing that, it's like you cannot bear to watch it because you haven't seen it enough times. So you can't. It's just difficult to believe this happens. So this is really a small example of a scene that is from a feminine point of view, but it's just it brings out so many questions about what is a feminine point of view. What is a film that is shown through a man's perspective or through a woman's perspective?
It's so interesting because when you talk about point of view, one of the other, one of the many, many strengths of this film is that you almost can't tell who the protagonist is because
Mm-hmm.
you shift point of views between the mother and the daughter, but you
Right.
maintain like the kind of the journey of both of them equally. And also the secondary characters, the men, you also, even though their roles are not as expansive, you capture their point of view. So, with such a depth of humanity, like, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about the shifting of those point of views. The whole thing isn't through the point of view of the daughter or the mother or
Right.
Gabby. Can you discuss that kind of point of view shift?
I wanted two very strong characters to lead this film, and I knew Asa and Vika are going to be are both going to be strong-minded and independent, and um, and I guess I wanted the audience to feel the two paths that these women are going through. So from very early on, I knew I wanted to tell the story uh, from both their eyes. Um, but this is something that I've been questioned a lot, why the film is named after the mother and not both their names. And for me, I mean, I wrote it in a way. As I said, this is a film that deals a lot about motherhood, and since it deals a lot about motherhood, the person that is left in the end of the film is Asya, is the mother, and she's always going to be a mother, no matter what happens, no matter what happens in her life. She might be a mother again. She's still young. She still has the rest of her life in front of her, and but she's never going to forget what happened. She's never going to forget Vika. So this is why I named um, the film in her name, because I wanted the viewers to come out of the film thinking, what's going to happen next in her life? Who is she going to be from now on? Because she could start from fresh. She can start a new life. Um, and but I didn't need to have only her point of view, which is something that is interesting for me because I could tell both stories, and I mean, and it's still like their stories are finalized by the ending scene. I don't
So,
know if that answered your question.
no, that is the question, and I think it's a really rare, um, watching, as an audience member, really rare experience where you see a point of view shift, and sometimes
Yeah,
within scenes you see a point of view shift, but you don't feel like jarred by it. You feel like you're sharing the world you built with all of the characters rather than
yeah.
just narrow cast. So it's kind of amazing. I'm gonna take some question. There are many questions from the audience, so let's see. Uh, why did you make the characters Russian?
Well, I wanted him to be. I wanted Asya and Vika to need to rely on one another. And something that is very Israeli is to have like a circle of friends, of family members that you can come to when you need help. It's a very small country, so it's not like you need to travel elsewhere. And I wanted them to be very alone because I wanted them by the end of the film to need each other so much that um, they cannot turn to anyone else but each other. So right from the very beginning, I realized that there were going to have to be immigrants of some sort, because then they would not have family here, and also their friends are going to be like fairly new and not someone that they grew up with. So that's how I ended up with Russian immigrants, because it's just there are so many. There's such a large community of Russian immigrants in Israel that it only made sense. That's how I ended up with the Russian.
So, another question from the audience: have you received any criticism for the ending? Here in the U.S., there's some states where assisted suicide is legal, but in the film, Vika's mother appeared to steal the drugs she used from the hospital. So, can you
Right.
discuss kind of the feedback you've gotten on the ending?
That's actually very interesting because I was sure it was going to be a lot more controversial. But I have not gotten a lot of feedback on that being a problematic ending scene, or I mean, people have not been speaking about the fact that it's taboo or that it's illegal. It's just somehow, and this is something that I'm very proud of in the film. You feel so much for the characters that you understand their actions completely, but you don't second guess them. You don't say, okay, why is she doing that? Because you understand. You're not asking yourself that question, and this is where I wanted them to be. So surprisingly, no, I have not gotten a lot of questions about that.
It's such an activist, it's a very controversial here in the States, at least. And
Yeah.
have there any, so I feel like this film even makes a statement about advocacy for that issue and that point of view. Have you gotten any positive, like, yes, this is an example of, a use of assisted?
No, I have to say that I have not gotten a lot of remarks on that, which is for me, it's such a great thing because I was sure it was going to be very, very much discussed, and you know, it just means that that really the people are connecting to the characters that they don't ask themselves that question.
So, okay, here we go. Wonderful film. I can't imagine it in any other way, but I noticed that a scene in the preview, Asya and Vika in the Dead Sea, was not in the final cut. Can you
Right.
discuss your editing process and final decisions for your perfectly based jewel of a story?
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. That's very perceptive. I was sure that people would not would not remember that, but um, yeah, actually, not a lot of scenes were left out of the final film. Most of the scenes are ended up in the film. The script was very tight, and most of it is inside. There are some scenes that were left out. Um, the scene in the Dead Sea, it was very short. The reason why we left it out, basically because it felt like they become too close too soon. I would say, like, we wanted to keep the distance a bit more, to stretch it out a little bit. So in the hotel room, in the Dead Sea, they would become this close. They would become closer, but it would be after there's some tension. So if they're swimming together, it just felt like it was too soon. But it was actually a really funny scene. And although Shira and Alona, they wanted to kill me because it was winter. We shot in January. The Dead Sea is a fairly warm place, no matter what time of year. But specifically on that day of shooting, there it was raining in the Dead Sea, which rarely happens. So they really wanted to get out of the water, and I just said, okay, we just need that shot. We just need that shot, and we didn't use it, and in the final film. So I said, okay, I'm gonna use it in the trailer, and then they would forgive me for having them in the water, in the cold water. And yeah, I have to ask them if they forgive me.
And actually, someone wants to know where the film was shot. Was it in the neighborhood in Jerusalem, Hadassah Hospital? Where did you shoot it?
Yeah, exactly. It was almost all of the scenes were shot in Kiryat Yuval, which is a neighborhood in Jerusalem, and in the Hadassah Hospital, which is you can see it from the neighborhood. It's like really, you can see the hospital from the house where we shot. So it's all in the radius of, I don't know, 10 kilometers or something. It's really a location-based film.
So, and when the film was nominated for awards, who decided that Shira Haas would be nominated for the lead actress? And who decided who was going to be the lead and who was going to be best supporting actress? Because they're both such, hard to parse out who the lead is in this film.
Right. Well, for me, I mean, they are both very, like, obviously they're two very important parts of the film. I think the arc of Asta's story is more complex in a way. So this is why Alena Yiv is considered the main actress and Shira supporting actress. But it really is like you have to choose. So.
And did your story, you grew up in Israel, and your story that you recount, the personal story, take place in Israel or in the U.S.?
Yeah, in Israel.
In Israel.
In Israel, yeah.
So I'm really curious, what are you working on next? We can't wait to see your next film. What is it? What's your next project?
I have two new films. One is going to be shot in Israel. Another one is right now we're developing it, and it's going to be shot in the States. Two films that are led by women protagonists, and I'm going to keep telling stories from a female perspective,
and
which is my perspective. So.
And are they also dramas, or are they comedies, or are they just very human? Can you just talk about that?
Yeah, I guess I write drama. I don't know how to write comedy. I wish I could. I mean, I can use comic like reliefs in scenes, but I don't think I can write a comedy. And I'm not the kind of person. I don't really laugh when I watch films. I cry. I cry very easily in films, but I rarely laugh. So it's easier for me to make dramas, and I'm gonna keep with what I'm good at. So.
And there's a question from the audience about, are the new films, are either of those films biographical or semi-biographical in any way?
No. Um, no, but I have to say that when you write a film, no matter what you write about, it has to touch you in such a deep way um, that you cannot let go of it because it takes so long to make a film. I mean, with us, it took 7 years to make it. And I have to say, I had to be so engaged into the story and know what I want to say and know what I want to tell. I know that I really want to tell it because otherwise it wasn't going to happen. So I feel that way about every project that I enter. If I don't feel the urge to tell it, I'm not going to get into it.
So, well,
So it touches me in a very deep level, and it doesn't automatically mean it's biographical, but it has something that I can relate to emotionally.
well, thank you so much for the film. It's such a gift to an audience to see something from an artist at the beginning, the first thing they make, and just know that we are going to share your journey with you as an artist because, just can't wait to see what you make next. It was
Thank
really
you.
a gift to the audience. So we were thrilled that we got to show this film. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.